Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to Game 2 in the series. Game 2 taking place here on Daybreak. There we go. Sage and Welmu, and Sage really opening up my eyes in game 1. His build order was a little bit unconventional, but really paid off. It's all of those minor things that Protoss players do in order to get a slight advantage. Sage delayed his pylon in order to get an additional probe, and we'll see if he's going to be delaying that pylon second time around. No, Sage this time building a much more traditional build. As you see, Welmu and Sage are pretty much neck and neck in terms of pylon placement. Now, what are the overall strategies that we will be seeing? Most likely it will be gateway into warp gate tech. Warp gate tech is what Protoss players need in order to be aggressive. Generally, Protoss players had slower units and that were difficult to get across the field. Pylon warp in power, just such a great advantage, being able to move home field advantage anywhere across the map where you do have pylons to warp in, as we now see a probe doing a little bit of scouting, making sure that there isn't any sort of proxy play. Probe quickly scouts out, now going to be making the move across the map. We'll see what he finds here in just a moment and what he's going to be doing about this. Alright, so far Sage is going to be a little bit behind since he did opt to scout out with this probe earlier, losing a little bit of precious mining time. I would say gone for about a minute, so he's down about 30 resources. Now, so far, we can see that Welmu is running up on one assimilator, 3 probes on gas. Same thing for Sage, as the builds are pretty much identical at this point, as we will be seeing pylons and cybernetics core warp in within 6 seconds of each other. Now, Welmu is finally going to be doing a little bit of scouting. We'll see if Welmu, yes, this time around, opting to train that early Zealot. That was something that Sage was able to capitalize on in the previous game, having an early Zealot walk inside the base and just run amok. Between the 6 lost probes and the lost mining time, trying to move around your probes, that really became an issue. One Zealot now coming in. We'll see where he will be going. One probe going to be walking inside as well, as Sage does take a look around and will be figuring out what the overall strategies will be. So far, he doesn't see any of those critical third buildings that you normally need to scout out. You're looking either for an additional gateway, robotics facility, or Twilight Council, or Stargate. Stargate not as part of the metagame as of late, as stalkers with blinks so common. You don't really want to be going into void rays, going down a very expensive tech path when your opponent can already build the proper counter units. Now, Sage now getting up that second gateway, and we'll see what his next building will be. Meanwhile, Welmu opting to warp in a robotics facility, and this is a bit interesting. It's going to be 2 gates versus a 1 gate and a robotics facility. Normally the Immortals will win out in that battle now, until there are enough units from Sage to really get past those hardened shields. Also, Twilight Council does allow for stalkers to blink forward and all get within combat range, trying to shut down that Immortal, as we still see units wandering around here. Alright, stalkers now making their way back over here. We'll see what's going to happen. We can see that Sage seen at 34 over 34 supply, currently supply blocked with no additional buildings warping in. That's a bit surprised, as Welmu seen at 37 over 42 and also going into warp prism play and also setting up his own pylon as well. So Welmu is going to be able to continually train units. Meanwhile, Sage is going to be supply blocked for a little while longer. You can see that he doesn't really have much to spend his resources on, though, as he is getting up that third gateway. Stalkers are now up. Warp gate tech should be finishing up here in just a moment, and Sage's timings are so tight that it's very difficult to gauge whether or not Sage is ahead or behind. Welmu now going to opt to use a warp prism in order to do a drop, but this is going to be a little bit difficult, as some of those units will be away. The 3 Zealots will be away from the rest of the fight, as the Zealots are looking to perhaps hit the main base and destroy a lot of probes. So far, 2 sentries 2 Stalkers, 1 Zealot here. The Observer needs to keep track of this army. Sage, with a much larger army at his opponent's base, could look to deal a lot of damage. An Immortal now trying to be trained. 1 Stalker tries to make its way down. Welmu needs to be very careful. Welmu needs to make his way in with these Zealots and perhaps actually deal some sort of damage. Otherwise, he's going to be very far behind. Welmu also does have some sentries. He has enough for 2 force fields currently. Perhaps he will get enough for a 3rd one in just a little while longer, as the Stalkers are still trying to test that door. There's a force field there preventing. And now what will be happening next? A round of warp gates just happened. So that means that all of these gateways do not have anything. That is going to be a problem, as Zealots are now going to be straight up dropped inside the mineral line. And Welmu catching Sage really out of position here. Alright, Sage at 49 over 58. We now see an engagement here. Zealots, force field, Stalkers able to blink up the round. The Immortal now needs to try to perhaps turn around and shoot, as there are Stalkers up on the high ground. 1 Immortal on the low ground. Are these Stalkers going to blink forward? Why aren't they blinking forward is the key question. There you go, now moving all together as the Immortal now tries to back away. Not going to work here. A new Immortal could be coming out, as the Zealots are still trying to chase after some probes. Back over here, Stalkers are still engaging probes, now absorbing a lot of damage. A new Immortal now back out, and that Immortal looking to deal a lot of damage here. Should just be turning around fighting, as the Stalkers are still trying to chase there. Another Immortal gets taken down, as Welmu, who's coming out on top. Sage and Welmu, both sides losing a lot of units, and Sage only has a handful of Stalkers left here. 3 Stalkers left, and Sage now says GG, as the Zealots are running rabid inside the base. Finished off all the probes, save for 1, and we see that Welmu still had plenty. Alright, Welmu taking game 2 in the series, evening it up. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Now let's move on to game 3.